Here's what's coming up on today's show.
If you have built a good portfolio, it will have some things that you go, yeah, it's kind of boring, not exciting. But you will also have on the far end of this, the exciting investments that you can use as well. So again, look at it as a plan and not say one's better than the other.
Welcome to the How Money Works podcast with Craig and Jennifer Moser of Maestro Wealth Advisors, serving you throughout the Triad of North Carolina for more than 30 years.
Time once again to learn how money works with a great team from Maestro Wealth Advisors serving you here in the Triad. You can find Craig and Jennifer online at maestrowealth.com. That's maestrowealth.com because Craig is a financial advisor and certified financial planner with more than 35 years of experience. And Jennifer Moser is a certified exit planning advisor, and they got a great team of staff there waiting to help you get to and through retirement. So reach out to them at 833-RETIRE-WELL. That's 833-RETIRE-WELL, or visit them online at maestrowealth.com. That is maestrowealth.com. We're going to talk about not screwing it up. We've made it to retirement. Great. Now let's not jack it up, right? So we're going to start with, I guess the first thing, Craig, is it's such a gear change to go from working and blah, blah, blah into retirement.
Blah, blah, blah.
Well, the emotional stuff that you switch to versus, old life, right? Old working life. Don't make any sudden decisions, right? That's a good place to start.
Well, to me, I say, if you've done this well, and if you've come to see us, and we have done all these measurements, and it's a win. You've won. So why mess it up? I'll tell you the personalities. So one personality is, oh my gosh, we're not working anymore, and I actually am looking at these investment accounts now, and I have some money. Look how much money I have. And so let's buy the beach house. Let's give the kids each $50,000 because they need it. Or let's go get the motor home. All that stuff happens.
Those are the exact same things I was going to say, is that people screw it up. And we've had clients that say, all right, I'm going to buy a big RV now. Oh, I'm going to buy a boat. Oh, I'm going to buy the vacation home. And it totally blows up their original investment plan because they see this big bolus of money.
Yeah. And then the other part are the business people, the business owners. Now, that's a harder transition because I'm used to running the show. I'm used to making the deals. I'm used to being out there in the front, and all of a sudden you sell the thing and you're not, and all of a sudden you're looking for the deal, and it's a lot of times you don't need to put that money in another deal. You need to put that money in the things that are going to pay you. And since you've won the race, don't get back in the race. It's just the emotional change is very hard. So don't make any sudden decisions. Make sure that everything that you have done is calculated, and make sure that you have measured before you do anything that would come out of the norm.
So you should measure.
I think you should measure.
Okay. Yeah, that's
and
good.
remeasure.
Yeah. measure twice, cut once, right? Exactly.
Said the guy with one finger.
There you go. All right. So we don't want to make any sudden decisions. We also maybe don't want to jump into things we don't understand. That's got to be a risky one.
Well, we have made some colossal investments, haven't we? We had a pizza restaurant. That was something I shouldn't have done.
That was our inflation-proof idea. Yeah. As we were working full-time and raising children.
And had rent houses. Nothing that could go wrong there.
Oh, boy.
And so, but you're aggressive and you're trying to make it.
Okay.
So you jump into investments. We understood it. We just didn't understand that it didn't run well without us there.
Right.
And so, there's other things that I could show you the litany of things that we've invested in outside of doing our work and maybe real estate. And you would go, what do you do that for? Right. Good question. And so investments that you don't understand. Other things are, right now it's very, very sexy, all these cool AI ideas. Mm-hmm. And I swear to you folks, I don't know how long you've been investing, but it smells and feels just like 1998. We could do nothing wrong with a tech investment back then, and it just feels so similar.
The .com, yeah.
Yeah, it was great until it wasn't, but you see all these new companies trying to solve things like cancer and diabetes and very sexy. And, what happens if they don't work out and that investment crashes? A financial plan for retirement is very similar to building a house. You don't really see the foundation, but it's absolutely needed to be there, and it needs to be rock solid. You need cash reserves. You need various insurance policies. You need interest earners, things that don't go boom. The walls in the roof, that could be very important. That's sort of like your income generating investments, paying you money that you can spend. We've been plowing away at real estate, and dadgummit, if we're not getting some checks, and it's kind of cool, and I'm not having to go fix the toilet on the weekends, that's the best one. And lastly, the decorations. And that's really where people get into investments that maybe they shouldn't be into in the beginning. If you have the other things done, let's do the decorations, the furniture, the pictures, the non-essential but very nice to have growth assets, stocks, private equity, speculative real estate. You could make a substantial gain with those, but you could lose. And so can you afford the loss? And that's sort of the important thing. Once we've built the rest of it out, let's do it. I mean, those are the fun parts. And when you hit one all the way home, it's exciting, but that can't be the plan.
And Craig, we didn't talk about this before the show, but you were talking about AI. Would you say Bitcoin is another investment that people, they hear a lot about, and how wonderful it is, and how, how
it may be. It sure has gone up a lot, but
and how to invest in it, and just that whole, and really understanding how do they really realize any appreciation on it.
Well, regulated advisors like us, we really can't get into the Bitcoin that way. And so, a lot of times we won't talk much about it. But I mean, is it an asset class? I would argue that the answer is yes. But I would also argue, what is backing it? And so for me, I'm a little nervous there, to be honest with you. I'm astounded at the returns. I can't argue that one. And I understand the how basically it works. But I mean, one thing is it's working, and the other part is the economic value of it, and I don't know that I can quantify it. So, yeah.
So about not jumping into investments you don't understand, would you say it's important to make sure that they have a purpose for their investments? Like you were saying, they've got their liquid side, they've got their income investments, they've got their growth investments, and then understanding how those different components work together to create that income. And it's important for you to have a good relationship with your advisor. So if you don't understand, or they can explain various things to you, and highly encourage you to raise your hand and say, you need to dumb it down, or you need to say it again, or whatever. So make sure that you do understand how you're invested, and your investment professional should be able to do that for you and with you at whatever level you're on.
Well, it's exciting. The investment world is very fun until it's not. And I go back to my house analogy. If you have built a good portfolio, it will have some things that you go, it's kind of boring, not exciting. But you will also have on the far end of this the exciting investments that you can use as well. So again, look at it as a plan and not say one's better than the other, because there's a place for most of the assets that are available to us as investors. We just have to understand their place.
As financial advisors at Maestro Wealth, we have seen people get right to the finish line in retirement, and they do screw things up. And this whole segment today is about not having you screw up a lifetime worth of work and income and savings right at the end because of certain things. We just talked about making sudden decisions or not making sudden decisions, and how that might mess your plan up. And the other is jumping into investments you don't understand. We're going to take a break right now, but when we come back, we're going to finish this segment with other things that you may or may not be screwing up intentionally or unintentionally. During break, give us a call at 833-RETIRE-WELL, 833-RETIRE-WELL. If you have a question, give us a call. We'll talk about it. We'll set some time up on the calendar for you to meet with us in our office if it's a longer explanation, or if it's something that we need to do one-on-one and actually show things to you. Take the break. Use it. 833-RETIRE-WELL. We would love to talk with you.
Back here for the second half of How Money Works with Craig and Jennifer Moser from Maestro Wealth Advisors, serving you here in the Triad. Find them online at maestrowealth.com. and get yourself some time onto the calendar that way. Plus, you can check out the other resources there. Lots of good tools, tips, and resources. You can check out the YouTube channel. You can check out the podcast version of the radio program, as well as all the other things they have online there. So go to maestrowealth.com. Sign up for the newsletter while you're there. Again, maestrowealth.com, or just call 833-RETIRE-WELL. That's 833-RETIRE-WELL for your conversation and retirement strategy. Again, 833-RETIRE-WELL. So we're talking about not screwing things up. We've got to retirement. We've made it. Talked about no sudden decisions, not understanding things you get into. So basically, Craig, have an actual plan, right? Not just a collection of stuff, which is what most of us have through life.
Either that or a
Jennifer.
collection of stuff, or they just don't have anything because they don't know what they need.
So there's a lot of moving parts in a good retirement plan. It's not enough to have one just picking good investments. I mean, that's essential. You need to have good, solid investment choices, but you need to work with an advisor that sees the bigger picture, meaning that we take into account all the details of your life, not just looking at investments in a vacuum. For example, we had some clients that we've had for years, and they're doing pretty darn good. And so we had to update their estate plan. I mean, a lot, to create some things for children and make sure that it was solid. And they didn't want to do it. So, we had to work with an attorney that could not only do the paperwork, but actually retitle assets and all this other stuff. It was exciting to do. But, when you looked at the whole plan in its entirety, it was, here's how we're doing the income part. Here's how we're selling the business, and here's the estate piece for the end of it. So that was a big picture example, but there were a lot of details in the middle of it, and so it takes a lot of extra work. It's not just I sold, NVIDIA and made a profit. It's a whole lot different to have a real plan for retirement versus just a smoking hot investment account. I don't know how else to say that. The things that can mess up will mess up if you don't do it well. Right before I got out on Friday, I had a phone call from a client, and he said, we're having trouble with our family. One of my brothers moved in with mom. She doesn't have a will. He's taking over all the money. The three other siblings aren't exactly thrilled with it. And I tried to give advice. I'm dancing on a wire there because I don't even know the other people. But, things like that you don't think about are going to happen. And so doing the best job that you can do. My example here was mom didn't have a will. She had some stuff, but without a will, how would it pass? It's kind of an interesting thing. Who's titled on the checking account? That person owns that account when they die if it's joint tenants. There's things that will mess up, and it seems like they will if they can. So the better you do with an entire comprehensive plan, the better it's going to go while you're living and then when you pass away. I don't know how else to say that, but actual plan is important, not just an idea or a good account or, I know a guy. Sit down with us and let's get it put together. I
know we talk a lot about retirement planning and the foundation, and we use like blueprint. When you think of building a house, it's kind of a static thing. You have your blueprint, you build your house. A retirement plan isn't static. That's one thing. And that it really is a living, breathing document because things happen. Things change. Just as an example, we had a client that had a retirement plan. Then Hurricane Helene happened and basically blew that plan apart because major costs.
Once in a lifetime event.
Right.
Yeah. How could you have planned for it?
Right. So that created now an opportunity to revise that plan to make sure that they can spend the rest of the retirement successfully. So it really is a living, breathing thing. It's not a one time and you do it and you set it aside. In that retirement plan, you need to think about lots of things that we talk about on the show all the time: longevity, taxes, guaranteed income streams such as Social Security, if you have pensions, if you might have existing income streams from rental income. All of those factors play into your retirement plan, and your retirement plan is going to be different than your brothers, your sisters, your neighbors, your bosses. And it's important to understand your key factors and work with someone who looks just at you and creates that plan for you versus, using a one-size-fits-all strategy. Or looking at your neighbor and say, well, if they do that, I can do that, and it'll work.
Right. Yeah.
Good luck. It may or it may not, but you don't want to guess on that when you're looking at the last 20 to 30 years. That you want a happy time. And you're going to be relying on your income to sustain you in retirement.
Well, that's why it's important to work with a professional, really, right? I mean, the accumulation phase is a lot easier in the DIY space. Let's be honest, right? The last number of years, it's easier, Craig. But at the end of the day, retirement is a lot more complicated. You pull one lever, and 5 other things might happen, right? So this is where you need a professional.
Well, I see it a lot when people say, hey, you know what? what I'm going to do is go ahead and turn my Social Security on. I'm going to continue to work, and, I'll just bank that money.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's a great idea. How old are you? Well, I'm 63. And I'm like, do you realize they're going to take money back from that Social Security tax? Yeah, you might get it later, but you're not getting it now. So don't look at it as something that you could bank. That was just a small example, but the things that you don't know,
They can
bite you.
yeah, pretty
Right.
bad. And so let's make sure that we've investigated, that we've explored, that we've evaluated, so that we know how to get this thing done into the finish line, and you get the easy button when you retire. You don't want that. It's interesting. I looked at people talking about taxes, and I know CPAs around the world right now are going to roll their eyes, but we put all our money in Roth 401k. Now that's just a personal preference because I don't want to pay it later. My true belief is that tax rates are going to go higher. You can look at other countries, and man, they have a higher tax rate. We owe almost $38 trillion. What could possibly go wrong there? Might the government increase the tax rate? So when you're doing planning and you have time to make this happen, let's look at your best ball, not just the best ball in a single year. Don't worry, I've had all the training. I know what we're looking at. But when you sit down with somebody that has done this all the time, you can evaluate scenarios. And I say that word a lot, but let's see what happens if I do this. Let's see what happens if I do this. And that way you've started to look at things and say, that one little change made a difference that was impactful later on. It was a good choice now. It may have had a little more pain right now, but it really moved the needle later because I was able to improve my life by doing that. But by not doing it, you're just hoping that everything works out without really evaluating the end result.
When you come to a professional such as an advisor here at Maestro Wealth, Craig and myself and Cameron, you're going to get a written plan. We're going to be looking at your current investments. We're going to show you your current cost of those investments and the variability of risk and return to different factors that have happened in the world, and what could impact the return on your portfolio. We're going to look at your Social Security options. What is your best ball? What would happen if you did one thing over another? Then we're going to give you our suggestion of how to basically create that retirement income that will sustain you in retirement. Typically, we give you a couple of different options because there's not necessarily just one way to solve that question. We're going to give you a couple of options and walk through those options with you and help you understand why you might want to do one way over another, and what one particular scenario over another scenario will address better or less than the other. And then we can sit down together as a team to decide how you want to move forward in retirement. We also look at that once you decide on a course. We look at that and revisit that about every 2 years and redo that analysis. Do it sooner if we have like the Hurricane Helena that impacted our one client. But that's important because this retirement plan will grow as you age and will change as you age. And it's important to find that advisor that wants to walk alongside you during this journey, because it is a journey and it should be a fun journey. And that's what makes our job so worthwhile and fulfilling, is that we get to see you, our client, in all these different stages and making sure that things are covered for you and things are successful. And you can have that legacy that you want to pass down to your children as well. Our number is 833-RETIRE-WELL, 833-RETIRE-WELL. If you don't have that experience now, we'd love to sit down with you and actually start you on your retirement journey and your retirement income planning. Our number again, 833-RETIRE-WELL. Make that call today.
Thank you so much for checking out the podcast today. If you have any questions about what we've discussed, remember, you can get a complimentary financial review with the team at Maestro Wealth Advisors by calling 336-448-1086 or go online to howmoneyworksradio.com for other great resources and ways to reach the team. You can also check the show notes of today's episode for our contact information as well. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on your favorite app so you never miss an episode. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and all the most popular apps. For Craig and Jennifer Moser, I'm Mark Killian. We'll talk to you next time on the How Money Works podcast.
Securities offered through Cetera Wealth Services, LLC, member FINRA SIPC. Advisory services offered through Cetera Investment Advisors, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Cetera is under separate ownership from any other named entity.